Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to see you all here. If you're just walking in, please grab a plate of food just behind me. We're going to get started. Before we get started at this time, I'd like to have a moment of silence for all the victims of the plane and helicopter crash last evening in Washington, D.C. We're learning now that several of the people on board were from Massachusetts in the skating community. So let's have a round of applause for them and their families. And a moment of silence, too. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm Chris Cooney. I'm president of the Metro South Chamber of Commerce. It's a pleasure to have you all here today and be with us. It's my pleasure to welcome you to another Good Day Metro South edition focused on Easton this month. It's so nice to gather here on the beautiful campus of Stonehill College as we celebrate Easton's tricentennial, 300 years since the founding of this town. I want to thank Professor Katie Curl-Dykman, the director of the Martin Institute. I want to thank Doug Smith, the president of advancement here at Stonehill, and our host today, Attorney John Duggan, for their generous support in hosting us here. Let's have a round of applause for them. I also want to mention Mike and Maureen and the whole staff that's helping us out today, so thank you as well. Today we are pleased to host Massachusetts State Auditor Diana DiZoglio. We also have the honor of hearing from two panels prior to the auditor. First, we have our new Faces panel featuring Stonehill's new Dean of the Mehan School of Business, John Duggan, JD, and the new Brockton Rocks General Manager, Shawn Reilly, as well as Katie Terino, who's the new CEO of the House of Possibilities. Our second panel is focused on the town of Easton in recognition of Easton's 300th anniversary. We have with us the Selectboard Chair, Dottie Fulginiti, from Easton, as well as the town administrator. Dottie always gets a round of applause, right? Very, very popular, especially in her own hometown here, right? Connor Reed is the town administrator, equally popular, not just here, but amongst the state folks who are in the same position. And we have Jen Menard with the Office of Business Development, Massachusetts Office of Business Development. There you go. Jen Menard. Jen. We will conclude our program hearing from the auditor. I would like to call your attention to the green sheets you have at the center of your table. Those are for questions. If time allows, we will ask the auditor a couple of questions towards the end. We have a very jam-packed program with, as you know, 7 speakers. The panel is going to go fairly quickly, and you're going to hear a lot of information. We tell people when you come to these programs, you might not like everybody on the panel, but you'll like somebody, I'm sure. We have a very full program today, so I encourage you just to eat through the program. We're okay with you just eating if you want to get a drink or something. We just had the mayor of Brockton arrive. Mayor, how are you? Good to see you. Round of applause. It is now my pleasure to introduce our MC today. Please join me in welcoming Sue Joss. She's President, CEO of the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, and also a member of our executive board. Sue?
Thanks, Chris, and welcome, everyone. It's great to be here. I always love coming to the Martin Institute. It's just such a nice campus to be on. So I'd like to start off by thanking our chamber ambassadors. If you could stand and hold your applause until I announce everybody. Jose Camacho, Dedham Savings Bank. Suzanne Fernandez, Northeastern Savings Bank. Brenda Carnes, Old Colony Elderly Services. Marcy Venetia Gleeworks, Joanne Schneider, Eastern Bank, and Mary Jane Anen, Combined Insurance, and Brockton Neighborhood Health Center Board. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the Chamber board members who are with us today, Greg Hart, CPA, Summer Street Financial Advisors, Mike Lambert from BAT, and me. And then finally, I'd like to thank the selected and elected officials for their attendance today. Dottie Fulginiti, Easton Select Board, Connor Reed, Easton Town Administrator, Mayor Bob Sullivan, Brockton, Shirley Azak, Brockton City Councilor, and State Rep Rita Mendez. So thank you all for coming. Today's Good Day Metro South is being hosted by the Martin Institute of Stonehill College, so thanks again to them for the hospitality. The Joseph W. Martin Institute for Law and Society was established in memory of Joseph Martin Jr., the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. As a congressman representing the nearby district, Speaker Martin had a close relationship with the college and received an honorary Doctor of Letters degree in 1955. In 1986, President Ronald Reagan signed into law legislation for the creation of an institute at Stonehill College in Martin's honor, and it was constructed by Stonehill in 1990 with congressional funding. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our interviewer today. Please join me in welcoming Dan Trout, Senior Vice President of Commercial Lending at Easton Savings Bank. Dan, welcome. Oh, yeah, I guess you're at the podium.
Yeah.
Okay. So please join me in welcoming our three new faces panelists to the stage. First, we have Stonehill's new Dean of the Mehan School of Business, Attorney John Duggan. Second, we have the new face of the Brockton Rocks as a professional baseball returns to the Campanelli Stadium. Shawn Reilly is the President of Baseball Operations. And finally, we have the new CEO of the House of Possibilities, Katie Terino. The panelist bios are printed full length on your tables and will be available to talk after the program concludes. So Dan, it's all yours.
Thanks, Sue. Welcome, everybody. We've had, as Chris said, there's a few changes. We got a moving program today. This flu has been really bad, so if it's nice to see a pretty good crowd here. But if you do feel a cough or anything, the chamber does have some seats outside with binoculars. You can watch. So we'll get right into the program now. So first, all our panel's been introduced. So John Duggan, Stonehill's new Dean of Mehan School of Business. You want to tell us a little bit about the perspective that you bring? I heard you talking a little bit at the table. You've been at Stonehill for multiple years, but new Dean, maybe your perspective on the school.
Sure, thanks. So thank you everybody for coming to Stonehill. We're so glad to welcome all of you to our campus. My name's John Duggan. I'm the Dean of the Mehan School of Business. It's my 11th year at Stonehill. I think really, we're an ACSB accredited business school that really focuses on the development of our students as the whole person. We want our students to graduate not just as good business people, but as good people. And I think that really Stonehill it's a community, and it always sounds trite to say that because I'm sure everybody says that, but Stonehill really is a community, it's a family. And we welcome our students and we welcome all of our guests as a part of our family. We want you to be a integral part of what we do. We can't educate our students in the business school without connecting with business. It's not possible. And so really for us, that this connection and this connections with the Chamber of Commerce is really so important. We have new majors, we're growing, we're expanding. We had our largest incoming class of business majors, undergraduate class this past year. We're looking for another robust class coming in this year. We want to work with all of you. We'd love to have you back into the business school, which is that way, and it's really big. It's the center of campus. It's a great space. It's a great space for meetings. It's a great space for engagement with students and with our alumni, with our recruiting partners. And so, yeah, it's just really great to be with you all.
Thank you, John. He's not done. He's not done. I have 6 minutes per person. So size, the typical student is coming locally, Massachusetts, out of state, and how many students are in the business?
Sure. So the business school has a total population of the the college's undergraduate population is about 40%. Since I've been here, the undergraduate business majors have grown from about 567, because I like numbers, 567 in 2014 to 998 SBA majors this year. We also have healthcare administration and economics majors, so it rounds out our undergraduate population to well over 1,000. So all colleges, typically the rule is that you recruit from within about 100 miles of your location. If you think about that for students wanting to travel and to go home, that's about a 2.5 hour drive, right? So, which is normal for us. That's about northeast, up from Maine, through New Hampshire, down to New York, southeastern Connecticut, New York, and then really to northern New Jersey is about our typical population. The college went Division I athletics last year. That was our first year's Division I athletics. We, for this year, have the largest number of states and countries represented in our student population, and that's largely part of recruiting by athletics. So international students coming here and playing sports, students from across the country that want to play in Division I athletics, they're coming here as well, which broadens our reach for just the reputation and name in the market of the school, but also from our reach for potential student recruits. Typically our undergraduate students, we're bringing in, last year we brought in 309 SBA majors, which is our largest class ever. Usually about 20 to 30% of those are undeclared business administration, so they're choosing from one of our 8 majors. We just launched 2 new majors in this past year, talent and human resource management and a business analytics major. We also have 2 graduate programs in the business school, our Master's of Science in Marketing and our Master of Science in Data Analytics. We'll also be launching an MBA next year. So really, like, we're looking to expand the footprint of not just our traditional undergraduate business students, but also go back to really what we were if you were here in the early 2000s, late 90s. We had a Master's of Accountancy, which was a good program for us. It always had a good reputation in accounting. And so really going back to that foundation. If you know the area, we used to have a evening division and continuing education division, and our graduate and professional study schools is reinvigorating that. So that's really grown over the past few years and looking to expand into other areas of workforce development and master's programs as well.
That's great. You're talking about the undergrads and have some master's programs. What's the pathway after graduation? I know Stonehill has a great reputation. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So our outcomes are good. I mean, 6 months out, we are 90% of our students are fully employed within their field of study. So we really pride ourselves on the outcomes for our students. We have a really robust and personalized career development center. Our career development folks are focused on making sure that our students are well positioned in the field when they go out to the market to get jobs. Each of the majors and each of the careers is different. So if you're an accounting major, Big Four accounting firms are really recruiting now in the freshman year. When I got here, it was second semester, sophomore year was super normal. It's being pushed back. Accounting the recruiting is getting earlier and earlier. Other fields are later, and that's just a normal hiring cycle becomes February, March. So we're really looking at pushes for our students in the job and internship fair is February 19th here. So if anybody's looking to recruit and you would like to host a table at our internship fair or career fair, please let me know. Put you in touch with our career development folks, and they will get you in front of our students, and you'll find that our students. I always say that one of the things about Stonehill students that I always loved when I was a faculty member and what I love about our students is that I felt comfortable putting them in front of people. That they were not going to embarrass me, right? And as if the ones of you who are laughing are the ones who hire people. And so that's really part of it is making sure that you're comfortable with these students going out and representing your company. And that's what we pride ourselves in, making sure that our students are capable Our policy and strategy capstone class for our undergraduate majors is our senior course. That is a 4-credit course for us, which is 3 credits in normal, 4 credits in a course. And they work on semester-long consulting projects. So we work with Easton Savings Bank, Bluestone Bank, Sullivan Tire, WB Mason, and other local businesses, as well as regional businesses. In the past, we worked with eBay, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, we've worked with lots of different companies, and really solving any business problem, right? Every business has a problem, or something that may not be a problem, but a challenge or an opportunity. And you're looking to address that, and you want to get a different perspective, we'll take on your project. Right? We will have students who do, as their senior capstone class, a team of students, typically interdisciplinary, except the one we have this semester is actually much more finance focused, and so we have a real finance team. Interdisciplinary marketing, management, HR, data analytics, accounting students, giving you a perspective on your business problem and giving a presentation now we're doing, we used to do it in the business school. Last year we did it in the Auditorium, which is in the May School of Business, which is really nice because it gets students on stage, which is like at a 330 person auditorium. Students stand on stage and do their presentation, which it's a different perspective for our students, right? So we make them, public speaking is a big thing for us. We want them to get comfortable with that. They get comfortable from day one. Business school, we have it's about 150 seat seminar room.
John, one of the hardest things is interrupting somebody when they're talking on stage, so I'm going to jump in there. I apologize. So, because I want to give you one last moment to just give a shout out. Again, I overheard the conversation at the table. I didn't know Stonehill. You said D1 sports, hockey team.
Hockey team beat UMass Lowell, who's ranked number 9 in the country. It's a great time to be a Scotty.
That's great. Thank you very much. Our second interviewee today is Shawn Reilly from the Brockton Rocks, new general manager. Welcome.
Thank you.
Round of applause for the Rocks. New management team. How's it going so far?
So, new ownership group, and yesterday we started the revival of the Brockton Rocks brand with a wonderful press conference at City Hall. That the mayor put on, and we introduced our new partner, Jim Rice, the Hall of Fame baseball player from Brockton. We had standing room only at City Hall, and I can tell you the sense of community we got, and the excitement about someone coming in who actually cared about the Rocks and wants to make it like the old days was really invigorating to us. And over there at that table, one of my partners, Bill and Rob Janacek, with the mayor. Didn't know what to expect when he came yesterday, because I know in the early 2000s, the Brockton Rocks were known around the country as one of the best minor league teams in existence. Full stadiums, a lot of excitement, beautiful ballpark. And then over the years, it kind of lost its way, and people didn't have the same interest in maintaining that level of excitement. But I'm here to tell you that we're back. We're bringing back the excitement. We have community programs. We have fundraising programs. I mean, we're here to work with everybody. But more importantly, we're here to give you affordable family entertainment for your families, for your employees, for your friends. And couldn't be happier about it. I'm excited to have the opportunity to bring the Rocks back. I mean, I go around the country and people say Brockton Rocks. It's amazing how many people know it. So what an opportunity. So I'm happy to be here.
That's great. So you're part of the Frontier Professional Baseball League. What's the league's focus and general community engagement?
Frontier League is comprised of 18 cities from North Carolina through New York, Quebec, Ottawa, all the way to Chicago, St. Louis. And we have players typically between 20 and 25 years old who have either played professionally or are trying to play professionally. And we have a number of players currently playing in Big League Baseball. I know we do, the Boulders. We also own a team in New York. I have a pitcher with the Minnesota Twins, Justin Topa. But I think the Frontier League as a whole is, I think, 10 in the big leagues right now. So these are high-quality professional athletes. Your Division I players from Stonehill would be someone who will come play for the Boulders because there's only so many minor league jobs for these kids. And there's a lot of kids out there who just need time to develop and play. And that's what the Frontier League is about. They play in minor league stadiums, nice markets, big crowds, And you give these kids who really just need a chance to play, to get an opportunity to get signed by a major league organization. But independent baseball, by the way, is like, basically what it means is it's a minor league, but all the players are independent of a major league team. So anyone who plays for the Rocks is free to sign with any major league team, meaning they're independent to sign with any
Not the
team.
Yankees, though.
No. There's no Yankee fans allowed in the room, and we don't like the Yankees, yes. No pinstripes, Mayor, no pinstripes.
So along those lines, I know maybe I'm going off script here a little bit, but they used to be part of the community as the players came and get jobs in the community besides baseball. Is that the same kind of?
Well, we're bringing that back. I mean, we are part of the community, and your team to be successful, you need to be part of the fabric of the community, and that means like, we need you as much as you need us, and we get out there and we go to the schools with the players and the mascot, and we'll go to street fairs, and anybody has events and wants to show up, we're here, that's what we do. And that's our way to get back to the community that's supporting us, because we can't do it without the community, right? You need people to come out and have a good time, and support the team, but we love getting back. It's nice to be part of the charitable organizations in town, helping them raise money and go on the field with their mom and dad, get a picture. We create memories. So it's a two-way street. So you'll see the Rocks everywhere in this community, not just Brockton, regionally. We're a regional team.
That's terrific. That's one of the best things about the Rocks, I think. They have done a great job, and if you can do that again, that'd be super. Now, you have opening day coming up. Talk about that a little bit, the date.
So opening day, I believe it's May 16th, and it's Friday night, and we'll have fireworks after the game. And then the next night is STEM night. To give you an example of some of the programs we do in the community, we do a STEM night with the drone show, and we'll bring all the STEM students from the area to showcase the robotics, and it's a really fun night. So we want opening weekend to be blockbuster. Not sure for sure what day Jim Rice will be there, but we think he'll be there for, hopefully opening night. And we're gonna start this thing off with a bang. We're gonna get big crowds and get people excited about coming back to the ballpark.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Shawn. Next up is Katie Terino from the House of Possibilities. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Katie's right down the street on Washington Street, just past Stonehill. Katie, a little background about the House of Possibilities, maybe how you got involved.
Sure. So I'm Katie Terino, the president and CEO of the House of Possibilities, and we are located, and gratefully located, right here on the campus of Stonehill College at 350 Washington Street. We opened our doors in 2009, and we provide services to children and adults with disabilities, about 300 individuals annually, right here in Easton and also in downtown Boston. The House, I would say, are two flagship programs. The first is that we provide children's overnight respite. We are the only children's overnight respite facility in the state. So we give parents a break from the sometimes overwhelming demands of caring with a child with disabilities. I would also say that we arguably have the best pathways to employment program right now in the state for young adults who are looking to gain greater independence and find a pathway to employment. And we do that in partnership with Jewish Vocational Services Boston. We have embedded classrooms at JVS Boston downtown on Federal Street, and then we have JVS job coaches embedded here in Easton. And we're really proud that this 3-year-old program is exceeding both the national and the state averages for workforce participation on people with disabilities. Those are our two core programs. A new program that is gaining incredible steam is our coaching and college navigation program. So we're working with young adults on the autism spectrum in the post-secondary careers and college goals.
That sounds wonderful. You mentioned a little bit about respite for the parents. Can you describe that? Because that's real important. And you mentioned it was important, but I'm not sure everyone understands exactly what a parent and what a family gets to do.
So we run respite 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and Sunday through Friday, we are offering respite to adults, and then Friday through Sunday to children. The children's respite is often their only opportunity for a sleepover with friends, and so we really try to frame it up that way. So folks come in their jammies, we're making brownies, we're having movie nights, and we really try to create a meaningful sleepover with friends for our children, and our parents constantly tell us how impactful that break is to have that on the weekends. For our adults, we're trying to create independence, so it's kind of like a hotel stay, almost like a staycation. So they're getting a little break from their house as well, but it's a much more independent situation for them.
Good, and that happens right here.
Right here.
You mentioned downtown Boston too. What happens there a little bit? Well, how's that?
Yeah, so we have 2 classrooms in downtown Boston serving about 45 young adults. And they're on pathways to employment, and they're doing a lot of work out in the community. And the unique thing about our Boston program is we don't have vehicles. Most programs have vehicles to take people to and from, but we recognize that traveling independently is one of the greatest barriers to getting a job. And so that's the first thing that our members work on is how can we move independently across the city so that they can overcome that barrier and get gainful employment. In Boston, we have a 55% workforce participation rate, where the national average is about 23%.
Talk about that a little bit. What does that mean? That 45, so participation.
The participation rates,
Yeah.
yeah. So individuals with disabilities nationwide, usually only about 23% participate in the workforce.
I see.
It's a really low number, and as for any industry that's facing a workforce crisis, for me, this is an opportunity, right? So we're always looking to get our folks employed and participating in the workforce.
Terrific. And lastly, talk a little bit about the Yawkey Foundation and the expansion that you're looking at.
Yeah, so we are engaged, so for folks who aren't aware, there are thousands of adults here in the state of Massachusetts who are waiting to get into the services that they need. We definitely do not have the capacity to serve everyone's needs in the state, so we are actively working to grow our services, and we have 2 expansion plans that we're currently working on. One is to double the size of our building here on Stonehill's campus with purpose-driven spaces for workforce development to really give our folks spaces that are going to enable them to practice the tasks and the skills that they're developing. And then I'm also happy to share that with 2 great partners, JVS Boston and Old Colony Wine, we were just recently awarded a $300,000 planning grant from Liberty Mutual Foundation to open a physical site in downtown Brockton.
Wow, that's terrific. Thank you very much, Katie. Thanks to all our panelists tonight. I think there is a parting gift, and I'm not sure where. Do I have it?
Chris will have to help you with that.
Okay.
Sure thing.
Steal that. Steal this. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks to our panel. While the panel's getting themselves seated again, just a couple more comments about Stonehill. One is that John mentioned the relationship between the School of Business and W.B. Mason. So just to note that the Mehan School of Business is named in honor of Leo Mehan, the president of W.B. Mason, which is headquartered in Brockton, so a great connection there. And also to point out the pictures around the room are pictures of the new Skyhawk Center, which will be an ice rink being built just across the street. So lots of great things happening at Stonehill. All right, next on to the second panel, and Dan again will be the moderator of that. So this is the Town of Easton panel, and this is in recognition, as Chris had mentioned, of Easton's 300th anniversary and its current and future growth. So we're delighted to have with us and pleased to welcome up to the stage Dottie Fulginiti, Chair of the Selectboard of Easton, Connor Reed, Town Administrator, and finally we have a familiar friend to many in the business community who is also a new face to this region, Jen Menard of the Massachusetts Office of Business Development. So welcome all of the panelists up to the stage.
Well, I don't know, the second panel, that first panel was pretty impressive. You guys got a lot to live up to. All right, let's see what we got here. Welcome again. So we have Dottie, Chair of the East Select Board. Give an opening statement maybe on behalf of the town. Welcome. This is, I think, a big year for you guys in Easton. So maybe talk a little bit about what's happening.
Sure. Well, is this on? Mike told me how to turn it on and I forgot already. So I just want to thank the Metro South Chamber for inviting us today. This is a big year for Easton. It's so exciting to see so many business colleagues and friends out in the audience here. And we hope that you're all going to join us for the 300. So we kicked it off right on New Year's weekend with a big event at Stonehill College. We had thousands of people and families and bouncy houses. A lot of people came for the axe throwing, which turned out to be little plastic axes for kids. So it was a lot of fun though. I couldn't believe how many people were there out of the community. So we're looking forward to huge participation. On your table, you'll see that we have some 6 signature events that are coming up. We have an art show, bonfire, parade, community picnic, gala, and the bonfire, did I say?
Fireworks.
Fireworks. So a lot of things with fire. And we're hoping that people will come. The goal of this is really to engage the community and be inclusive of everyone and to make cost not a barrier to participate. So we really want to thank our sponsors and donors, the people that have really, and organizations locally that have contributed to that. I want to thank our Vice Chair of the Select Board, Craig Barger. He's the representative from the Select Board to the committee and is doing a great job. We are looking always for additional people to help and support us and volunteer. And I am just trying to think of one more thing that is just escaped me, but we hope that people will come ask questions. Oh, I know, the flags. If you're driving around Easton and you look at the telephone poles, you'll see all of a sudden all these flags have come up commemorating the 300th, and you can still purchase one if you want for your business or your family name. So the Select Board has a flag, my family has a flag, I share the cultural district, we have a flag. So they're all over the place, and it really looks great, and great shout out to the DPW for making that happen.
Where can somebody get a flag?
You can go to www.easton300.org, and there's contact information there to be able to get one.
That's great. Good. Give a little context for the town of Easton. How big is Easton, and population size of the board?
Sure. Easton has grown quite a bit over the past few years. I've lived here for 30 years. I've been on the board for 12, and we've seen some really great changes to modernize, to be very thoughtful about the type of growth that we have, balancing housing and economic development. We have 25,000 people in our community now, and we are 19 square miles, I believe.
Sounds right.
I know we have 119 miles of roadways, so the DPW keeps us very well reminded of that.
That's great. So I know it's a source of pride with Easton, maybe a couple of things. I know one of the things the mayor, well, I think has just taken off, had said Easton's pride is being next to Brockton, which he left, so that joke falls on his sword. Any other things you want to talk about Easton, as the pride and the folks and what's going on there?
Well, I think that, that is funny, but it's also pretty true because Easton really prides ourselves on being a good neighbor, and we are trying to do our best to regionalize with the communities around us. It's very tough to be a municipality right now, and you'll see that many of the cities and towns around us, we're in budget season. There's a lot of conversations, a lot to talk about. And this is really a good time for us to start to explore ways that we can work with our neighbors. How can we leverage opportunities to grow business development in our area, in our industrial parks and things like that. So I think that we really do try to be a good neighbor, and Brockton has been a good neighbor to us as well.
That's great. I do, there's a plug here too for the pickleball. If you play pickleball, there's a brand new pickleball club in Easton, right down the street, 10 new courts.
We might be the pickleball capital. We just opened, with 3 women entrepreneurs, just opened LTP Pickleball, and we had the ribbon cutting on that a couple of weeks ago on Lois Lane. Beautiful facility, they have a kitchen, they have a bar, so there's something for everyone there. We have pickleball courts next to the Union Villa that are very popular, and we have pickleball courts at the high school, so, there's no excuse to not play pickleball in Easton. Our recreation department has pickleball lessons, so we'll see you on the, I don't know what they call courts.
Courts, yeah, courts.
I like to watch pickleball.
You tennis players can uncouple your ears. We'll move on from pickleball. She said Lois Lane. It's right off Route 138 is Lois Lane. It's the only thing on Lois Lane. So if you're looking for other things on Lois Lane. Dottie, thank you very much. That's appreciated. We'll move to Connor Reed, Easton Town Administrator. You and Dottie both have tough jobs. Like she said, it's tough times for towns. Budget season's always a tough time. You want to talk a little bit about your role in town government? How that works?
Sure, thanks, Dan. I love getting to talk about the budget. Everywhere I go, it's never enough. I'm Connor Reed. I'm the town administrator in Easton. This month actually started our 14th year in Easton, which you probably don't believe looking at how old I don't look. This is my 9th year, started my 9th year as town administrator. And what my role is to, on paper, manage the day-to-day operations of the town government of Easton, working in collaboration with the select board, implementing votes of our community from town meeting, working with the schools, but particularly for this forum and this crowd, something that's really important, I think, the town administrator is doing his or her job well, is keeping an eye towards the long term and making sure that all of our kind of disparate agencies and boards are growing together with the community, with the business community, the nonprofit community. Because it's easier said than done. I won't ask anyone to volunteer for me, but sometimes public agencies are not famous for the right hand knowing what the left hand is doing, right? And we want to make sure that when we're doing things like when voters trust us to do big things, like invest $20 million on sewer expansion, connecting with Mansfield on 106, that we're working with our planning board way before shovels even go on the ground, so that the zoning there is getting upzoned, and so that the businesses and residents who own property in that area and who are going to pay the cost of that public improvement have more capacity to capitalize on that infrastructure, whether that's infill, new development, new housing opportunities, business growth. So that's, I think, a really kind of important part of my job, is making sure that we're keeping an eye on the long term, rowing together, and trying to be coordinated and thoughtful about how we leverage infrastructure and policy changes so that folks in this room, the private sector, can do the best that they can with their property.
Thank you. The sewer project down 106 was huge, getting that done. How's that been received? I think terrific, but
I don't know if it's long enough in the past, but I want to say good.
I brought it up because
sorry, probably ruined your commute for a couple of years. So, that was a very complex project. 106 is really narrow. It's single lanes on each side for a whole stretch between Bay Road and getting to the Target and Avalon Plaza, and there was portions of that were 30 feet deep. Road was closed. We were rerouting, I think, 20,000+ vehicles a day, so it's a pretty high chance that any of you commute or drive through this area and try to get 495 that I made that much harder for you for 2 years. But that wrapped up right around, it's all a blur with the pandemic, but I think in 2019 or 2020, that's unlocked a lot of redevelopment and both business and housing potential. So we're seeing closed former foundry sites that have been cleaned up being rezoned and repurposed for compact neighborhoods for folks. We are seeing approvals through planning for mixed-use developments where you can have some rental type housing and retail and restaurant opportunities on the first floor. Really just the things that we know. I'm going to borrow from Secretary Augustus, I think, in this room, brought up. One of the things that's really tricky on the municipal level is not just budgets, but the kind of politics of policy, where we have the best schools in the United States, in Massachusetts. Right? We're in an amazing institution here. Our public schools are incredible. But the cost of living is extraordinarily high. And there are folks who, even if they want to stay in their community, the diversity of housing type is just not there every time. And so through those sewer projects, through working with municipal neighbors like Mansfield, hopefully soon the city of Brockton, bringing that infrastructure in has also created the opportunity for us to have more rental type housing, more mixed income housing, so that folks who are maybe entering different phases of their lives have somewhere to go and stay in the community, and that folks that we're educating and spending collectively billions of public dollars to have the output of some of the most educated students in the United States are not forced to leave.
Yeah, that's great. The project, the sewer project, you all did a great job, the DPW, in providing information and being consistent in what happened. So, you know, if you had to get detoured, you got detoured the same way every time. So, at least that was consistent. So I think that brought a lot of Highland Street people probably didn't appreciate that, but it's over. So, speaking of new growth in commercial, industrial park future, talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So Easton Industrial Park is one of the denser kind of commercial areas in town. Easton is known more for open space and parks and you know, its residential profile, but it's a top priority for Easton, not just for myself, for the select board, but it's been identified in plans for the community going back decades, which again, as you can tell, I did right. But that we want to capitalize on that area and give the folks who own property in that area, who are running businesses in that area, the tools that they need to maximize their business. And there's obviously a zoning element there, but right now the industrial park has no sewer. Again, I mentioned we are very grateful to Mayor Sullivan and the city of Brockton, and that's a conversation that's ongoing, and we hope to have some good news there. But that's certainly after we've done 3 sewer districts as a team in the past 10 years, the industrial park remains a really high priority and I think a real growth opportunity for the long term.
The mayor did leave right when you guys came up here, so I'm not sure how that bodes well for that interaction. I'm not sure, but and lastly, we talked a little bit about the new ice arena at Stonehill College and maybe some hotel or something in the future.
So if anyone here wants to build a hotel, please come see me. Easton would love to partner and find an opportunity there. That's something we've heard from our community for a long time. I'm very proud personally of the relationship between the town of Easton and Stonehill College. I think that's something that from the president, Father John, on down through the administration, we've all been working together to find more opportunities to partner. Some of that could look like what the college is planning to do with the Skyhawk Center, which is extraordinarily exciting. That would be across the street on 138. In other areas of partnership with the college, we will have a fire station on Stonehill's campus. Bids for that are actually due tomorrow, so wish me luck in the current construction environment. But we've been working together, I think, quite well with Stonehill, and we're very excited about the prospects here. We think that would be great for the not just the college, but for the community to have an asset like this, to have that draw, and hopefully that, coupled with some of the other things that we have going on in town with our cultural district, restaurants, can get us to that critical mass where that makes sense for a developer to invest and work with us to bring up hotel design.
That's great. It's not noted as a coincidence that you have a new fire station with the bonfire and all the other stuff, gala things. It maybe coincides.
No one is more excited about all this than the fire station. So, and I say that sincerely.
All right, Connor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Jen Menard from MOBD, Massachusetts Office of Business Development. Welcome, Jen.
And thank you. I really appreciate being on this very famous Easton panel as a state player. So I was actually in the New Faces panel. I just started as the regional director for the Southeast. I work under the Massachusetts Office of Business Development, which is under the executive office of Economic Development. Lots of abbreviations, I won't do that here. But what our mission is to really help businesses to be able to grow. And we have programs in our toolkit that allow companies who are looking to expand, to have investment in their business, to either relocate. There's lots of different ways that the state is looking to be able to support businesses. And I know my other colleagues on the panel do a lot of work on this, so I'm really excited to be collaborating with them, whether it's Dottie's both roles, both at Mass Development as well. I don't know if you know this, but we work very closely with Mass Development and the other quasis and other agencies that have funding. So if anybody's interested in talking about something that you're looking to do with your business, please, I'd love to talk to you. It's way better if you talk to us early in the process, in particular for expansions, in-state and out-of-state relocation, and in gateway cities, which I don't remember one, but Brockton's one, in terms of retaining employees. So really great opportunities. We also, I don't know how many municipalities are in the room, but also those of you that have engaged in local incentive programs. Those have changed a bit with the Mass Leads program, and we certainly can fill you in more, but that relationship between the municipality and the business has been actually streamlined. So there's been a lot of work that's been done by Secretary Howe with the Mass Leads program and really looking to try to provide support to businesses in the Commonwealth. So I'm really excited to be a representative to do that, and really excited to be here in the town of Easton today.
That's great. Give us a little bit about your background as a new face. You talked about some of your development work with Dottie in the past. Give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. I didn't even have this in, but I started my career at the state auditor's office. I worked there for 9 years. I got to put the plug in. I was the managing editor. But I started that, absolutely. I just started that, So I actually started my work in business and economic development, running a regional economic development group called the South Coast Development Partnership. It had a really unique opportunity to define the region of the South Coast. It wasn't named there at the time. I was brought in to do that branding. And then with a group, it was a chamber-led organization. I know Chris Cooney has done a lot of work on our redos. He was actually working with me at the time and his own redo. And it was a really great way to start in looking at how we can utilize a regional effort to come together and look at how we bring businesses. We targeted certain industries and looked to bring them and recruit them into our region. And I think that was a great way to start because my partners were Mass Development and MOBD, and it really showed me how we can work to increase the opportunities for businesses in the Commonwealth. I then worked at Bristol Community College as the Vice President of Economic and Business Development, and was also engaged in workforce development and business development, and was a part of the start of the National Offshore Wind Institute, or the NAWI. So we were really engaged in specialized workforce development around maritime and offshore wind. That's been my background. My new role here really continues the fun of meeting with businesses and municipalities, and working and figuring out how we can continue to grow and to do good stuff.
That's great. That's great background, and you're going to be a real plus to MOBD. We're going to keep saying that acronym. What's the best way for people in the audience to reach out to you and connect with you and the agency?
Well, of course, I don't have business cards because that would be very easy for you all, but I know that I am listed in the information for this panel, but certainly I will continue to be here and give you my information, as well as, again, provide you with my contact information through the chamber. So thank you. I see Chris Cooney's holding that up. I think my contact information may be on there, so. But it is really important to know that we do have a team in Massachusetts, and I was really excited when I started because sometimes we don't always see a lot of good communication. I came in under Secretary Howe. We worked very closely with Mass Development, Mass Tech Collaborative, the Life Science Center, Clean Energy Center. It really goes on and on. So one of the things that can be very helpful is that if you're looking to do something with the state, come up to one of the team and we can get you to the right place.
That's great. Thank you very much. Let's thank all our panelists. So this panel outdid the first panel because these guys are getting a gift.
Thank you all, and thank you for all you do for the town of Easton. All right, as I'm about to introduce our keynote speaker, just a reminder that there are green papers on your tables for you to write down questions. Just hold those up when you're ready, and chamber staff will wander around and gather those for you, and we'll have some questions and answers at the end, time permitting. So now it's my pleasure to welcome Massachusetts State Auditor Diana DiZoglio. Diana is the 26th Auditor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. She was sworn into her first term on January 18th, 2023, and she's committed to help move Massachusetts forward by working to increase transparency and accountability in state government. Auditor DiZoglio is a former state senator from the 1st Essex District, state representative from the 14th Essex District, and chief of staff to the president of the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts. Her decade-long service on Beacon Hill has provided her with the insight and fortitude to work alongside elected officials, labor, community advocates, stakeholders, and everyday working people throughout the Commonwealth, cities and towns. Her humble beginnings, nonprofit work, and labor experience helped her nurture, cultivate, and develop relationships with a diverse expanse of people. Auditor DiZoglio began her public service in state government in 2013, serving as a state representative, which includes for the 14th Essex District, which includes portions of North Andover, Methuen, Lawrence, and Haverhill. She's a graduate of Wellesley College and Middlesex Community College, where my son's a student now, and is a resident of Methuen, where she grew up. So please help me welcome Diana DiZoglio.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, well, there you have it. I think she pretty much said it all, folks. We can all go home now. Thanks so much for the gracious invitation today and the very warm welcome and introduction. Thanks for emceeing. Dan, thanks for emceeing as well, partially there. And Chris, thanks for the invitation to come out and join you all at Metro South. This is such a great opportunity. My name is Diana DiZoglio. I am your state auditor. It's great to be here this morning. Before you all start booking it for the exits, I don't audit any of you, okay? You're welcome. Connor really appreciated that one this morning. I don't audit any of you. I don't audit any of your personal accounts. I don't audit cities and towns. I do not audit private businesses. I am not the IRS. I am not the Department of Revenue. I actually audit government for all of you, state government for all of you, to make sure that state government is spending your tax dollars efficiently and effectively. And we work really hard in the Office of State Auditor to make sure that your tax dollars are not wasted, spent fraudulently, or abused, and that our state programs are operating the way that they should on all of your behalfs. So I hope that that makes you want to actually stay for this conversation now, this morning. But look, I ended up running for state auditor after years of serving in our state legislature and learning about all the great things that our government can do. I learned about so many great things. About what our government can do. You know, and this morning we heard about just a few of those things. Jen, come back to the Office of State Auditor anytime, give us a visit, let me know if you want to come back and work with me. We need editors all the time. But Jen, I mean, you even just talked about it over at the Office of Business Development. Great work, distributing grants, making sure small businesses have access to opportunities, right? Especially awesome, you know, helping in our gateway cities like Brockton, where I actually have an office. Come visit sometime. Friends, we do have an office in Brockton. Come stop by, say hello. But also learned about some of the opportunities, you know, that we are providing through social services. When I was a legislator, I got to work on the Turning 22 program, right? Making sure that adults had that respite as they were transitioning from childhood into adulthood. Learned in the state legislature about the importance of working together with our municipalities, with our local select boards and city councils, town administrators, mayors, making sure that our communities had access to appropriate levels of funding for education, for transportation, for infrastructure projects. We were just talking about the need for a municipal public safety building authority in the state of Massachusetts, and how that could be something that's beneficial. Those are things that we got to talk about during my time in the state legislature, and I learned a lot about all the great things that we can do, investing in education, healthcare, fighting for environmental and social justice, and fighting for all these things that I know that folks in this room care deeply about, fighting for our small business community when I was the chair of the Small Business and Community Development Committee. But I also, during my time working in the legislature, served there for 10 years, 6 years as a state representative, 4 years as a senator. I learned about the flip side of how our government can operate when there is no accountability. And I fought hard during my time in our state legislature for basic things like being able to read legislation before it was voted on as a senator, something that we didn't always have the opportunity to do, something that legislators and your senators and representatives don't currently have an opportunity always to do. Fought for the opportunity to have public hearings so that all of us could participate in what was going on at the State House and be a part of those conversations before and not after issues had already been voted on and voted into law, issues that impact all of our lives. Fought for there to be roll calls on issues so that folks would know how we voted on different things, and they could understand what our positions were on issues without having to guess, because a lot of issues up on Beacon Hill are actually dealt with behind closed doors with no recorded roll calls. We're actually right now in the state of Massachusetts voted as the least transparent and least accessible state legislature, state government in the entire nation. For as great as Massachusetts is for so many reasons, for so many wonderful reasons, and for as many things as we lead on in this amazing state that I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to have been born and raised in, we continue to trail and be dead last with transparency, accountability, and accessibility. And actually, this last year, we just got ranked as the least effective state legislature in the entire nation, right here in Massachusetts, where so many opportunities do exist. But we have issues with access. We have issues with accountability in our state government. We have issues with how our tax dollars are being spent and making sure that everyday working families like those in this room actually have a seat at the table. And during my time in the state legislature, I learned a lot about all the great things that we were able to do. And I also learned a lot about all of the not so great things that were occurring in the legislature, in the State House, up on Beacon Hill, among some of the most powerful politicians in the state of Massachusetts. And it really lit a fire in my heart and my soul to want to make changes to that system. I grew up in a community where, we were told, look, if you're gonna complain, you better be bringing a solution to the table too. And you better be part of the solution. Don't just complain for the sake of complaining. If you're going to call out something, if you're going to recognize that an injustice is occurring, then you are volunteering and raising your hand to do something about it. And after several years of talking in the legislature about some of these challenges that I had seen having a really detrimental impact on our communities, in ways that was being represented as inequitable funding, for example, across our communities. Some communities would get access to lots of funding if their elected official was a really important person up on Beacon Hill and well-liked and did what was expected of them in accordance with the powers that be. And then other communities wouldn't get the same access to opportunities, wouldn't get the same funding levels for things like clean water, educational opportunities for their nonprofit sector, for the things that really a lot of our communities do need the state to be working on in an equitable and fair rather than political manner, right? So during that time, I'd witnessed all these things and been talking to folks throughout all these different communities. And I had a very diverse district when I was a state senator. I had previously as a state rep represented the cities of Lawrence, Methuen, and Haverhill, all of which I grew up in essentially my entire childhood. And I currently reside in my hometown of Methuen, where I was born and raised, graduated from the local public school system there. But then when I was a senator, I also ended up representing the community of Newburyport and the community of Amesbury, right? Merrimack, Salisbury, quite different than the gateway cities that I had been born and raised in. And it really gave me that opportunity to see the stark contrast between opportunity that existed in those different communities and the huge opportunity gap between a community like Lawrence and like Newburyport. I know that you see that locally right here in this region, right? If we talk to a lot of our local officials and our state legislators, they'll tell you about some of those disparities that exist. And a lot of that does have to do with the decisions that are being made on Beacon Hill at our state house with our state tax dollars regarding where they're going, how they're being distributed, how they're being used across the board here in Massachusetts. And the fact that a lot of those decisions are being made in the dark between just a handful of people up on Beacon Hill. Beacon Hill is no longer, I talk about this quite often, it's no longer about Democrat and Republican. I know that the political parties are really a big thing when we talk about these things at the federal level. I understand that. But here in Massachusetts, it's actually been my experience that up on Beacon Hill, it's less about Democrat and Republican and more about people who have a lot of power and then everybody else. There are only a few people in our state government who have real, true power to effectuate changes in law, changes regarding the budget, and how our state tax dollars are distributed amongst our communities. And that's problematic because we all know, the age-old adage, the phrase, absolute power does what? It corrupts. Absolutely. So all power in the hands of a few was never a good thing. And having seen that for those 10 years serving in the state legislature, working alongside so many amazing activists and advocates and folks from our communities who truly, genuinely cared about making a positive impact and really wanted to see positive changes in their communities, seeing how year after year folks would go back to the same table of power and continue to be dismissed or ignored or disenfranchised or patronized or spoken to as though their concerns were not valid because they didn't belong to a specific clique or group that was important enough to be heard. When the office of state auditor, actually became something that it looked like a seat was going to open up in, where the state auditor's position itself was going to be open, I did some soul searching and decided that, hey, this is a position where tax dollars can be watched over, oversight can be provided, and where some good can be done. I viewed it as a place where I would have a greater platform and a stronger voice to be able to continue the advocacy work that I had been doing in the legislature to promote accountability and transparency and increased access for all and not just some folks in Massachusetts who really do want to join together across party lines to help our communities to succeed, to help working families to succeed, to help our kids to succeed. And I saw these opportunities that existed and ended up running for the office. And since I've been in office, got elected in 2022, we've been able to make some tremendous progress to increase accountability, access to opportunity, and equity. And some examples, I'm going to start with one that, this is an agency that I apologize because probably nobody here has heard of this agency, but, has anybody heard of the MBTA before? So the MBTA, right? Folks need to get to work. We need affordable transportation. Even if you don't yourself take public transportation in any fashion, we all pay for this system, okay? And we all want to make sure that our neighbors who do rely on public transportation, that they can get to work and not have to worry that their train is going to catch on fire or derail, or even have to deal with just constant tardiness and delays, in an already hectic lifestyle, right? So our state's MBTA, it's never really properly served the residents of this Commonwealth. We've had challenge after challenge, but those challenges have really, really come to light over the last several years, the last few years in particular. And our office, we wanted to make sure that we could do something, and folks said, well, what can your office do about the MBTA? Certainly, we don't have any votes on transportation policy. We don't set transportation policy. But we do have teams that can do what's called performance audits, and we went in and we looked at the MBTA, and we looked at a couple of their contracts, and we looked at ways to improve safety and performance. We looked at a contract that was actually given out with a Kentucky-based company who was actually providing safety and performance services to the MBTA, who was responsible for providing station checks and making sure that safety was paramount at our MBTA stations. And we found some areas for much needed improvement. Recently, we looked at the AFC 2.0 data collection contract that was actually given out. We looked at some ways to improve that contract, found out that it lacked sureties. It's a $9 million contract. Lots of taxpayer dollars going out to that. Want to make sure that that's being spent effectively. Found out that that contract was lacking in many ways, made recommendations to the MBTA for some improvements. Doing our part. We actually audited recently the Department of Children and Families. I know a lot of folks here in a community like this, you're probably either part of a nonprofit, some of you may run a nonprofit, some of you may donate to nonprofits and volunteer with our nonprofit communities. All right, so I know how much groups like this and rooms like this care about vulnerable populations in our communities. And I want to thank you so much for your investments from the private sector into families locally in need. What we do in the state government, we're supposed to be doing our part as well, right? So we do have a Department of Children and Families that is there to assist our most vulnerable children and our most vulnerable families across Massachusetts. And we went in, we conducted an audit recently released that actually looked at mental health services and how they are being provided to children in DCF custody. Found some significant gaps there. Found that medicines and medical treatments were not always being distributed to these children in an appropriate manner, alongside of the behavioral health component that needed to accompany that medical treatment. Not all children who should have been provided with counseling services actually got counseling services, actually got to see a therapist or someone that they were supposed to see. Not all these children actually got the court advocate that they were entitled to because they didn't have an advocate in their family to be a voice for them. We identified all of these things through the work of our office, and we were able to produce a report and call on DCF to step it up on behalf of our children. There are so many great workers across the Department of Children and Families and in all of our state agencies, but the systems sometimes can be outdated, and the systems need to be examined to see if they're functioning or not functioning so that these workers can do their jobs on behalf of our most vulnerable. And that's where our office was able to go into DCF and identify some gaps. And we're so grateful that DCF actually responded very well to the audit, committed to getting right to work on addressing these concerns to make sure that our children are better served. Lots of folks don't know that we look at these types of agencies at this level of depth. We also look at the waste, fraud, and abuse component of our taxpayer dollars. Recently, we audited the Convention Center Authority in the city of Boston. And we found out in analyzing how they were conducting business in this quasi-public agency, we actually found out that millions of our taxpayer dollars were actually being spent through no-bid contracts. Now, for anybody here who has ever done business with RFPs or procurement or any form of contracting in the business world, public sector, private sector, what have you, you know that the bidding process is really important. It can be quite competitive. It can be quite concerning, even with a bidding process, many times for folks who, oftentimes feel that it wasn't fair, that somebody got a contract that somebody else might have deserved, and that is with an actual bidding process. But our Convention Center Authority here in Massachusetts couldn't actually prove to our team that they had even gone out to bid on really a ton of our taxpayer-funded financials there with those contracts going out. They didn't have original bids to provide to us. They somehow got lost or destroyed, and they couldn't give us access to them. We found out that private consultants were contracted out in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for contracts that were supposed to go out to bid, but never did. And then we actually uncovered that there was a $1.2 million taxpayer-funded non-disclosure agreement that was executed unlawfully by our Convention Center Authority to conceal allegations of racial discrimination and retaliation. Unacceptable. Now, these things were all being swept under the rug for years. And our office went in because we heard about some of these issues. We received some allegations from folks in the community. We had read about some of the news coverage on some of these things. And we went in, we conducted the audit, and we found these challenges. And their new executive director has committed to make changes immediately to address all of these concerns. But these things could have continued on for year after year after year if the Office of State Auditor wasn't going in and ensuring that there's a check in our system of governance here and making sure that we're looking behind the curtain, so to speak, and that we're opening up the books, we're opening up the doors and the windows and letting the sunlight in to shine a light on some of these processes and procedures that can have real life impacts on our state workers and on all taxpayers across the Commonwealth. And just because we're talking about that NDA issue, you might have read in recent days, we did just release our most wide-ranging audit yet out of the Office of State Auditor, at least since I've been in. Maybe there was a different time you could tell me about. But we released over a 160-page report. If you need some light reading this Friday night, feel free. It's up on my website. Grab that bottle of wine and just take it for a spin. It's a good read. We worked really hard on it. But it is regarding taxpayer-funded settlement agreements, including confidentiality clauses. And let's be clear, in this business community here, settlement agreements exist to settle disputes. They serve a purpose, they serve a valid purpose. And the Office of State Auditor certainly recognizes that. Organizations, whether they're private or public, there are disagreements that happen because humans, not robots, work in our organizations, and those settlement agreements exist to save us from costly litigation in court, public battle that many employees don't want to have to go through, right? So those agreements are there as a useful tool to help people to move forward with their lives. However, in government, when we're using your taxpayer dollars to fund these settlements, with employees across this Commonwealth, it really is important that there's accountability around how those settlement agreements are being used to make sure that they're not being abused to protect powerful officials or to protect harassing or discriminatory or abusive behaviors in state government, or to hide potential outright corruption that could be occurring across state government. And what we actually found in this audit is that there were no documented policies across the entire executive branch of government on how to execute a settlement agreement, how to use confidentiality language if you were going to use it, and what was appropriate and inappropriate, which means those agreements could have been abused many times to conceal really bad or inappropriate things. I have some personal experience with this myself. This is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to take on this battle. When I was a younger woman in my 20s, I was harassed in our own wonderful House of Representatives. I was forced out the door during that time period. And on my way out the door, after being fired because I was being harassed, I was required by the Speaker of the House at that time to sign away my right about what I had seen, witnessed, and experienced through one of these taxpayer-funded non-disclosure agreements. This was just to get a 6-week severance package. This was not a legal battle. Nobody was going to court. This was just to be able to move on and to move forward. And I remember being a younger woman in my 20s at the time. Don't ask me how old I am now, y'all. And I see some of your questioning eyebrows go up there. I remember having an issue with this, but not knowing what to do. You know, I wasn't an attorney. I'd never had to go through this type of experience before. And I remember thinking, well, that's strange. Why would they make me say that I'm not going to talk about literally anything at my workplace when I move on? This is government. You know, this is not private dollars. This is tax dollars. It is a public facility, not a private facility. And that's the people's house. It's not the politician's house, right? So I remember having a problem with it back then. And through the years, I learned a lot more about this and ended up, as the state auditor, having the opportunity to do some more digging into where else this could be occurring across our state government. And we uncovered over $40 million in settlements over the last several years. And over $2 million of those settlements had some form of confidentiality language attached for issues ranging from sexual harassment to discrimination to retaliation in the workplace, where employees had to be quiet about what they experienced in our own state government. And look, as the state auditor's office, we want to make sure that we are not sweeping things under the rug, hiding bad behaviors, pretending like issues don't exist. We want to shine a light on those areas where there are problematic issues occurring, not to shame and blame, but so that we know what's happening. You can't fix a problem that you don't even know exists or won't admit exists. Keep denying exists. You have to recognize and come to terms with the fact that issues exist in order to be able to actually address them together. So we shined a light on where that's happening across state government, some of the abuses that are occurring. And just before our report was released the other day, I was thrilled that our governor preemptively, knowing that that report was going to be released, banned non-disclosure agreements across our state agencies and executive offices, which is great news for you, the taxpayer. So give our governor a thank you next time you see her for that, because that is great progress. The last thing I'm going to talk about, because I'm getting the flag thrown at me right now, is the audit that I know nobody here has actually probably heard about again, so I apologize if I know what I'm going to mention right now. The audit of our state legislature. Yes. I'm going to take a drink of water before this one. Friends, I love our state legislature. That's why I served there for 10 years. Love our state legislature. Love your local delegation. You have great legislators locally. We work very well together, done a lot of great work together through the years, and that's going to continue to occur. I love our legislature. And not but. I also love transparency and accountability and equity and accessibility. And for our state to continue to be ranked as the least transparent state legislature in the entire nation, in a state like Massachusetts, it's just unacceptable. Now, we put on the ballot this fall a ballot initiative, question 1, to audit our state legislature via the Office of the State Auditor, who had always historically, by the way, audited the state legislature up until recent years, when a handful of leaders decided that they were no longer going to participate in this audit process, and they were going to balk at the idea of an audit by the Office of State Auditor. I'm not the first state auditor to raise this issue as being problematic. Actually, I credit the other Italian-American auditor, Joe DiNucci, who was in years ago. He initially was the one that raised this as being the problem that it is, when the speaker at that time, when he went in to do his routine audit, the speaker said, "You're not auditing me," essentially. And the rest is history. We've been fighting for this opportunity essentially ever since. And understanding that the battle was not being won by filing bills up on Beacon Hill because the speaker and Senate president decide what bills get passed and don't get passed up there, we decided to take this issue to you, the people, and ask for you all to help us to make sure that the practice of auditing, like we were just talking about auditing all these other state agencies and these entities, that the practice of auditing our state legislature is returned to the Office of State Auditor. We have over 100 audits that we've done of the legislature before. We'd like to continue that again. And I want to thank you in this room. And if you didn't vote for it, it's okay. Just act like you did. Give me a wink. 72% of the population of voters here in Massachusetts, which is a landslide victory. Okay, landslide. Amazing. 72%. Madam Chair, we would kill for those numbers in an election, right? God, imagine winning by 72%. I'd be walking around like this, right? This issue got so much more support than most of us as the electeds get, because it was a nonpartisan, good government issue, something that we can all agree on. Whether you're far to the left or far to the right, we all want good government. We all want to know how our tax dollars are being spent. We all want to make sure that we are improving our state government in whatever way we can and able to do that together. So 72% of Massachusetts voters went out, they voted for this initiative. And right now, unfortunately, in Massachusetts, the law still isn't being followed. The law has been voted on, implemented, it is in full force, it is the law, and we have the Speaker of the House right now saying that compliance with the law is in the eye of the beholder. Now, I want to know which one of you here, when that regulator or that IRS person comes a knocking, or you get pulled over by that police officer, and you roll down your window and say, "Well, officer, compliance is in the eye of the beholder. The speaker said it. It must be true." Friends, it's completely unacceptable, okay? Our lawmakers need to follow the law, okay? And I know that some are not thrilled about it, but they need to follow the law. This issue has been decided. It is no longer up for debate. There was a debate about this for many years, actually. For the 2 years I ran for office on this issue, and then for the last 2 years that I've been elected talking about this issue while we worked to get it passed on the ballot. The time for debate on this issue is over. It is the law of the land now, and it's time to follow the law. So I am going to end today with the thank you so much for your tremendous support. Thanks for supporting transparency and accountability, and a bit of a call to action to please call our good friends in the legislature and ask them to please put that pressure on the leadership team in Boston, up on Beacon Hill, to follow the law, to do the right thing. Let's get our legislators to commit to not doing anything to undermine what we voted for. Let's call our Attorney General's office and ask that our Attorney General enforce the law as the law enforcement agent of this Commonwealth, to make sure that folks have to abide by the law, that there are repercussions for not following the law. And let's continue to advocate for this alongside of, a lot of the other things that I know we're working on here as a region and as a state, to help to make government work better, which is the mission of the State Auditor's Office alongside of all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we have, we're out of time for questions, so hopefully if anyone has questions, if you have a minute to stay after.
I'm hanging out here afterwards, so feel free to
Great.
grab me on your way out.
And we have a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. That was great information, and thank you for the work you're doing. Okay, so just some announcements before we go. Save the dates. Friday, February 28th, Good Day Metro South will be at the Sharon Community Center from 11:45 to 1:30 with keynote speaker Congressman Auchincloss, sponsored by OCES. On Thursday, March 13th, the 10th Annual Multicultural Business Forum and Business After Hours will be at Thornley Golf Club from 5 to 7:30 p.m., sponsored by Northeastern Savings Bank. And finally, well, not finally, but door prizes. Each Good Morning Metro South, we randomly select one company to be highlighted in the upcoming action report. And the winner this month is Barbara Fox from School on Wheels. So, Barbara, please see Emma before you leave from the chamber. Door prize number 2, a winner of a gift card for a highly rated new nearby restaurant, Gianna. The winner is Miles Jackson, DJ Old School. And the final door prize is the winner of a $25 Back Bay Bagel gift card. The winner is Nicholas Valori, East Coast Renewable Energy. So I'd also, as we're saying our thank yous, like to recognize that Shirley Azak arrived, Brockton City Councilor. Thank you to chamber staff members who put this event together, Hannah and Emma, and our new intern, Colin. A big thank you to our host, the Martin Institute at Stonehill College, Doug Smith, Dr. Kathleen Curl-Dykeman, and the new business dean, John Duggan. And finally, thank you to our speakers for being with us here today. I'd like to ask our panelists and speakers, the state auditors, along with our elected and selected officials, to come up front for photo opportunities at the end. And thank you all for joining us today. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.